Hi. Okay, now we are going to continue the basic terminology in networking. We're talking about application layer, presentation session, transport, and network, data link, and physical layers. The application layer, uh, like when you want to use, Google or anything, you use HTTP. This is one of the protocol in application. And what the what it does is passing the information to each other in a client. For example, this is client and server, and provide interface between software running in a computer and a network. So application layer. Other application layer, we have presentation layer. Presentation layer convert. This one convert and format the data for the to be presented to the application layer. And in this layer, encryption, decryption, if it's needed, occurs. What is the session layer? Session layer establishes, terminates connection among the application of different computers, but allow the system to communicate with each other. Allow the system to communicate with each other. What does transport layer means? See, in OS the data is like PDU, protocol data unit, and what it does, it transports the data from source, from source to destination. This is if it's source, if it's destination, transport data from source to destination. The communication between these two hosts. What it does, receive the formatted data from the upper level and add the source and destination port number and pass it to the next layer. In every layer has its own protocol. The transport layer has UDP and TCP. These are the protocols used on these and most reliable is TCP. Some of the things, there are so many material in this course that you gotta go and search in Google what this means. But in this course, there are so many material that we have to cover, so we don't want to spend too much time. This is like connectionless and connection oriented. And then we come to the network layer. Transmission of data from one host to another. Transportation from one host to another, and it decides which physical path the data takes, which physical path. Because it has to go through the host, go through the, this is the host, go through the switch, and then go through the routers, the different routers, and then it will get to destination, which is might be here. You go through the router to the switch, and then these are the host. So at the data link layer, transfer data frame from one node to another, and detects and corrects the error to FCS. Frame checksum, and then at this layer it has two protocol itself, LLC and MAC, media access control and logical link control. And these forms the frames. At the physical layer, what happened in the physical layer? The transmit the bits from one node to another node. See, all these things happen. Application PSTNDP. You can use this abbreviation to say that all, A stands for all people seem to need data processing. It's easy to learn that application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link, and processing for physical layer. So what happened in this? All the data being converted to signal 0 and 1, zeros and ones, and change it to signal change 0 to 1 and pass it to the next layer. Okay, here one of the things before that we go through that See, we have another newer system that we use TCP/IP, that transmission control protocol, and IP. IP stands for Internet Protocol. See, in the newer system, all these three is just one, called application and transport, and then the network, internet, and in TCP is called internet, and then these two layers is changed to one layer, network access. So there are 5 layers, 1, 2, 3, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this is the data link. And physical layer. This is the data link, network, internet, transport, and application layer. See, the information, the data in OSI model is PDU, but when it gets to TCP/IP, the data break into the segments, and means it been divided into a smaller unit called segment in transport in TCP/IP. And then when it gets to the network layer, it will change to packet, which contains logical address, routing, path determination, all these in network or internet layer. Well, in data link layer, the packet has logical addressing. In the network part of it, in the networking, which is in TCP, see, IP is added to the frame. IP is added to the frame, and then at this part, MAC address is added, and then all this through the physical layer been changed to 1 and 0, and it go from here. All this process go to another computer from zeros and ones, and then the same process happens. It gets into the layer in the data link layer that has MAC address, is because it knows the MAC address of this one. So in the frame you have MAC address, IP, and the rest of the things we have here, this frame. And MAC address is omitted, and then when you get to this IP address, this know the IP address of this one. So as it goes up there through the layers, it will get to the transport layer, and then it goes to session, presentation, application until it receives the data. See, actually what is happening here, that in layer 2-4, layer 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, in these 4 layers, networking takes place. Data from upper level broken up into a manageable chunk. Base route establishes. Base route to destination establishes, and then convert the data into the electrical impulse and place them in the network. These 4 layers. But upper level from 5 to 7, 5, 6, 7. From 5 to 7, data obtained from the source application this layer relates to the application and operating system, like email, data file, and then pass it to the network. Initiate communication, sending and receiving happens in these 4 layers. Okay, there are some of the things that you got to know that talk about network topology and logical topology. Physical layout of the device, it says the physical topology, and logical topology, it means that how data flows within the network. Okay. And also you got to know about the internet. When you are connecting to this computer, these are computer PC1, PC2, PC3 to a switch, and then through to the router. All this, you got to use some cables. There are 3 different cables: coaxial cable, UTP, coaxial, UTP, and STP, and fiber. So coaxial, all these, they have connectors. You have to have at the end of the cable there is some connector that you connect it to the device. All these, they have connector. So the connector for these are for coaxial is BNC connector. Connector is BNC for coaxial, and for UTP, unshield twisted pair and shear twisted pair, we have RJ45. So these are RJ45, the connector. And for fiber optic, this fiber optics, there are few different SC, ST connector. See, in order to communicate like with Google, maybe this is another country, then the reason you can communicate with those server, it has been done through the fiber cable, fiber optic cable, and so thousands of miles cables, or it goes underneath of the oceans until it gets to that server, you know, and all countries, you know, this way through this get connected to each other through the fiber cable. But for the small business, you know, you use coaxial, UTP, STP, and like for twisted pair, just 100 meter, the limitation. If you can use more than 100 meter for twisted pair. Or sometimes, you know, the maximum distance, like is the kind of TP, twisted pair thick net 500 meter. And for youth, we got to use, we got to know this terminology that, like you see 100 base T. It refers to performance, you know. It's this is the speed. Speed is the speed of transmission is 100 megabyte per second. Megabyte per second. And base is the baseband signaling. And usually, you know, see, this is used for fast fast Ethernet. 10 base T is not that, doesn't have that speed, so these are the and you know, some of the things that so 10 base T, this is for UTP, and you have to learn some of the terminology that it is very good to know that like crosstalk, so attenuation, so that is the cable type, and about the speed and the baseband. Well, you have to know some of the terms like half duplex, half duplex, and full. You know, some of the things you have to go and search to find it yourself, what those means. So some of the things like DHCP, static. See, we'll talk about those later. Okay, for now it's enough.